So in last 5 chapter, Krishna was talking about the same subject, right? So he was basically talking about what exactly he represents, right? Again, the Krishna is not a person here, but he was trying to explain what exactly he meant when he's saying, I am this or I am that, what exactly he represents symbolically, right? So in this video, what we'll do is we'll go quickly through all the 5 chapters again to see exactly in the context what was the teaching here. Yeah. So in the 7th chapter, the Krishna started this teaching after that discourse on the meditation. He started to give this knowledge about what exactly he is. So he started with earth, water, fire, air and space, and mind, intellect as well as ego, right? These are the 8 elements of my lower manifestation, right? So earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, intellect and ego, these are the 8 elements in my lower nature. And then there is another element which is the base of these 8, right? Which is the base of everything. And all the creatures are made out of these 2 powers, basically, yeah. So one is the fundamental power and another one is made out of these 8 different elements. And if we see, basically everything that we are seeing is made out of these 8 elements. And the interesting thing here is he is not using in fact he included the mind, intellect and ego just like any other element, right? So it's not like when I'm thinking something it is my mind, and it's or when I'm identifying with my ego it's like my ego kind of thing. It's more like these are just elements, just like the earth or the air. There's another element called mind, which is thinking, right? So just like a different elements, you put them together and you will see different manifestation, right? You can see the trees made out of these elements, and you can see the humans are made out of that element that way. And the other element is kind of a life behind all these. But we cannot. It doesn't have a form, and we cannot see it, but it is underlying substance from which everything is originating, and it is also the life of everything, right? So he tried to explain this thing, and it's very hard to explain these kind of things which doesn't have a form, right? How could you explain something which doesn't have a form? But he's saying, for example, I am the heat in the fire, right? I am the heat in the fire. I am the life in the creatures, and I am the splendor of splendid, and I am the. So for example, if we take an example here, I am the heat in the fire, right? So heat doesn't have any kind of form, if you see, right? But it is again the essence of the fire. If you take out the heat from the fire, there is no fire, right? It's the basic essence of the fire is the heat, right? So interestingly, that's what he is trying to communicate. Everything that you are seeing is made out of these lower 8 elements, and behind these 8 elements there's another element which is higher and which is the source, and I am that element. That's what he is trying to communicate here, and everything is dependent on me for everything else. Yeah. In fact, then he goes on further and he says, he has explained this before, that everything in the nature, even those 8 elements he just described, are fundamentally woven in the fabric of 3 gunas, or 3 properties, or 3 qualities, right? Tamas, Rajas, Sattva, inertia, energy, and balance. So everything is made out of these 3 elements, and it may appear that I am, I am under their power, right? I have to do what they are telling me. In fact, he was saying before, even in the earlier discourse, that everybody has to act based on their nature, right? But here he is saying it may appear like that, but actually these 3 elements of the nature, or these 3 properties of the nature, are under my rulership or under my control, right? They originates from me. I am not under their under their kingdom or something like that, but they are basically being originated from me, right? So I am even more subtler than them. So again, if we understand this, then what he's saying again makes sense, that these things does not affect me. The action does not affect me. The fruit of the action does not affect me, because I'm more subtler than them. In fact, I'm the source of them, right? Okay. And then he says every creature when it take the birth, because of this desire and hatred around these pair of opposite, means like winning, losing, praise and loss, uh, winning, losing, praise and ridicule, and pain and pleasure, these kind of opposites. And we have this tendency, as soon as we born, is like, I like this, I don't like this, these desire and aversion based on these things. And because of that tendency, the word is being used here is hypnotized. We get hypnotized in them, right? We get hypnotized by uh, these desire and hatred, and that is the reason we cannot actually see our true nature. That is the reason we cannot see this different element which is underlying source of all the other elements. And then he says the person who has done a good proper actions and has purified his sins, that person get free from this hypnotism, and with the strong determination kind of worship me. So quite interesting, right? So everything in the nature is made out of these 8 different elements, and there's another element which is the source of it all, and which is the life of it all. And basically saying I am that, and you are not able to see me properly because you are getting deluded by these pairs of opposites, and because of that hypnotism is not possible for you to see me. And then in the next chapter he further goes on and says, so in the next chapter he talks a little bit about death, like the person who is established in the self, in this higher element. At the time of death, then he comes to me, and there's also some mystical stuff like how people go in different direction after death and all, but that's not really very relevant here. What I found very relevant in the next chapter was like a suggestion that Krishna was giving to Arjuna, that you should always think about me, right? This is action. This is an action on the level of thought, so it can be done, right? So always think about me, offer your mind and intellect to me, and that way you will definitely attain me. Again, the very interesting thing here is it's not something that you need to believe, and all these teachings that he's giving is fundamentally telling Arjuna that ultimately you should be able to realize me or attain me. These kind of teaching is not something that you need to believe throughout your life. If you do the right practices, if you do the right actions, you should be able to attain me. And then he constantly suggests the same thing without without getting agitated. The person who constantly think of me, for that kind of a person, I am actually easy to be realized, right? If somebody who constantly think about me, constantly try to reason about me, like for that person I am actually easily accessible, right? Pretty strong statement here. Okay. And then in the next chapter he further goes on about himself, like what exactly he is. He says this complete universe is pervaded by me, and established in me, right? So he's saying that this complete universe is basically that everything you are seeing is actually exists inside me, right? And it's an interesting statement because it may appear like it may appear like I have this awareness, or I have this consciousness, or I have this life, but it's the Krishna is saying it is other way around. Actually, you exist in me. It's not that I exist in you kind of statement. And he's saying like see this, that I am the source and sustainer and all pervading everywhere, but at the same time I am not the part of this universe, right? So I am all pervading, and I am the source of, I am the all pervading and sustainer of everything. At the same time I am not the part of it. The example he's giving is like space and the air. The think of me as a space in this context. For the example, think of me as a space, and everything in the universe is like a air, right? So air, there's no existence of air in terms of without space, right? Space is the foundation on which air exists, right? At the same time, it doesn't really matter what air does, it cannot really affect the space, right? It's a nice example. So space is more subtler, so air cannot really touch the space. At the same time, air is existing within the space. And then again he suggested, you should be, with the strong and firm determination, you should be constantly be devoted to me. Now Krishna was making these suggestions around, initially he was making this suggestion around, you should be acting from the place of equanimity and all that. He's talking about the action, and later he started to talk more about, your mind and intellect should be firmly established in me. You should always be thinking about me. You should always be reasoning about me on these kind of stuff. And now he is adding another element of devotion to me, right? Once you understand this aspect that I am basically everything, everything is being originated from me as a fundamental element from which everything comes up, you should also devote to me. He's adding the element of heart now. You should be devoted to me, you should be worship me, you should be doing devotion to me. And then he's saying, the people who are devoted to anything, in fact, like even the person who is very much about worldly success, or who wants to be very successful in the business or whatever, he's saying these people are also devoted to me only, right? They are devoted to one aspect of me. So, and it's not a proper way of devotion. And then he explained, the way you should be devoted to me is basically with anybody with the pure, with the purity and devotion, with the pure mind and the devoted heart, pure mind and love. If they offer me something like even leaf or flower or fruit or even water, I accept it very delightfully. So he's saying this object of offering does not really matter here. What matters is the intention. If anybody with this purity of the mind, pure innocent way, if they offer me anything, I accept it, right? I accept it. So what you should do is, whatever you eat, whatever you do, whatever austerity you perform, do it as an offering to me, right? Very interesting suggestion here. And then Krishna says, he who knows me as the birthless and beginningless, right? Never born, never started. Among the mortal, he is undeluded. And then he goes on and he says, intellect, knowledge, freedom from delusion, patience, non-violence, impartiality, contentment, all these different manifold conditions, they are being also originated from me, right? It's not a property of that, their roots and their source is basically me. All these things are being, all these different elements, they are all coming from me, right? They are not just there by themselves. They are being originated from me. And then again he made the same suggestion, those who thinks of me absorb their life in me. Ultimately the fruit of all these different ways of acting, thinking, devoting, all these different things that Krishna is suggesting, the ultimate fruit of all this is that ultimately their darkness of ignorance will be destroyed with the shining lamp of knowledge, right? Ultimately the fruit of all this thing is you ultimately are able to destroy your ignorance with the knowledge, right? Ultimately that knowledge comes up and that knowledge destroys this ignorance, which is the fundamental problem of all the different problems in your life. Yeah. Now the Arjuna was asking, so you are telling me about all this thing, that you are a supreme purifier, you are the supreme abode, you are the divine spirit, primal God, all these things you are telling me, and these things I have also heard from different sages, and I totally believe in you, I totally believe in that. So please just describe to me your different manifestation, what are your different, high quality manifestations, and how may I know you, how can I constantly think about you, and what are the various aspects of being of you should be thought by me, and all these things, right? So then so Krishna has already made this point that I am pretty much everything, right? So here he gives Arjuna a little bit more about the in the sense what is the his top manifestations in this uniform, in this universe. So in the way he's saying, I am the king in the humans, I am the lion in the beast, and all that things, and he continues saying all these things. In the end he says, but what will you do with all this knowledge, right? Know that with my fraction of my being, I sustain this whole universe, right? So he's saying, I am much more vast than what this universe is, basically, but with the fraction of my being is what is enough to sustain this universe. And then the next chapter, Arjuna is asking, okay, so here, you told me about all these things, but if you think it is possible for me to see it with my own, experience, then please show it to me, right? All these different things you told me, it's amazing and everything is great, but is it possible for me to see it? If it is, then please show it to me. And then Krishna goes on and give him, the divine eyes, and then after that Arjuna was able to see different manifestation of Krishna, which he was talking about, and he explains like, wow, now I am seeing like your splendor is, higher than 1,000 suns coming together, you thousands of mouth, thousands of ears, and thousands of mouth, thousands of hands, and all these things, and everything is being dissolved in you, everything is being coming from you, and I do not understand what's the point of, what is the reason behind all this thing, and you are the air, you are the fire, and all these things. So he was able to realize it, he was able to see by himself that whatever the Krishna was telling was actually the truth. And then he was he was very he was speechless, so he was like, I just want to do salutation to you from all the angles, front, back, everything, and why should I not, because you are basically the source of everything. And he goes on like this, that please forgive me just in case I have offended you and all that. Then Krishna was telling Arjuna that look Arjuna, what you are seeing is not easy to be able to see. It is there, but it is not easy to be able to see, and it cannot be seen with the sacrifices, the different things he was recommending before, the sacrifices, the austerity, the charity, all these things. You cannot see me in my truest form, but you can do it, you can see it, and you can attain it with the devotion, right? So it's interesting that he's putting devotion even higher than yoga of action, yoga of knowledge, and he says, with the unwavering devotion, you can know me in this form, and you can enter into this realm. So that was the chapter. These are the summary of last 5 chapters, where Krishna was talking about what exactly he is, where he is asking Arjuna to look into, right? And what is he all about, right? So that's it, and now we'll see the next chapter in the next video.